All right. So today we're really lucky to have Kathy Bingham on the podcast. And Kathy is a private investigator. She has a very unique relationship with the Noah Presgrove case. So we wanted to have her on. She's been working the case since the beginning. In fact, she's done a lot of interviews with a lot of the players in the case. And we thought after we talked to Dalen and Robin and we talked to a bunch of people, everyone told us we had to talk to Kathy. So we're so happy to have you on, Kathy, and we'd love to ask you a ton of questions. We've had a ton of questions, as well as the public has a ton of questions. And for you to be boots on the ground, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a private investigator, because you just recently became a licensed private investigator, correct?
That's correct. I've been one now about 1.5 years now.
So tell us what motivated you at this point in your life to start becoming a private investigator, because you're a grandma.
Yes, I am. And a great-grandmother.
And a great-grandmother.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I'm a grandmother of 9 grandchildren.
Wow.
1 more on the way. And then I have 1 great-grandson.
God bless you. God bless you.
I love my family. I love family. But about between 10 and 13 years ago, my nephew, Damian Davidson, he was autistic, nonverbal autistic, and it was storming. We had a big storm down here, big flood down here, and he got out of the house early in that morning, and we couldn't find him, and it took 2 weeks to find him. Well, everybody come down from everywhere, all over the United States. We searched for him for 2 weeks, and there was a particular search group that came down and searched with me day in and day out, and went through, the roller coaster with me through that.
I'm so sorry.
So, anyway, we didn't have a very good outcome. We had a horrible, tragic outcome. But for me to see how this search team came and worked, and not only them, but everybody else in the community, I wanted to pay back to my community and to everybody here. So I decided to join the search team. I worked a full-time job, took care of my mother that was elderly, and worked searches. So I ended up going to school, getting FEMA certified for search and rescue and disasters. So I had that under my belt. And then I was on a search last year before, and I was approached by one of the search investigators. I don't know if he's actually an investigator, but I know he was on the head of the search team. And apparently someone had told him that I had done some things, and he approached me about it and told me I couldn't ask questions because I was not an investigator, that I could got in trouble. And I told him, I said, well, then I can fix that. So one of the ladies that I'm very close to on one of the search teams, she had been asking me to go to PI school. So whenever they told me that not to be asking questions, it made me mad. And I'm the one that you don't tell me I can't do something, because I will break my neck to prove you wrong. So that's what
Sounds like us.
I got into PI school, and I've been knocking doors down since.
Good for you.
God bless you.
But I love what I do, and I do what I love.
Good.
Fantastic. All right. Well, so tell us a little bit about the origin story of how you got involved in Noah's case.
Well, on September 4th, 2023, early that morning, I got a phone call from my grandson. And he had asked me if I heard about anything down in Terrell, and I said no. I was asking him what was going on, and he was very distraught. And I told him, I said, "What's going on?" And he was telling me that somebody had was found on the side of the road deceased, and so I could tell it was more in depth. So I asked him, I said, "Is it somebody in the family?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Who?" And he said, "Noah." And I've known Noah since he was little bitty, a baby. And my grandson and Noah are first cousins. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
So he begged me and asked me to find out. He told me, he said, "Grandma, get on it, please. Please find out what happened to Noah." I said, "Okay." So that morning, I couldn't even finish breakfast. I left Bronx. My husband took me home. I immediately called down to Jefferson County, talked to them down there, got in contact with OSBI at first because OSBI, they said, was taking the case. Then once I talked to them and I explained how and why I wanted to be involved, they agreed, but wanted me to agree with them that I would turn everything over to them, because I didn't want to step on any toes. I know how important an investigation on something like that is. So, and I never did go down to the scene. I did not. That was their scene. I didn't want to get involved in that. I wanted to jump into interviews. I wanted to start talking with family members. I wanted to start talking to the kids, because eventually I knew that I would see what we were dealing with later on. So, and then I talked to OHP. I've worked beside. I'm not working for. Let me clarify something. I am not working for OSBI. I am not working for OHP or no law enforcement. I'm working along the side of them. So anything that I get, it goes to them. And then they go over the evidence and whatever. So that's
So you recorded. So you did the first recorded interviews of a lot of the people that were at the party, correct?
As far as I know, I did. Like I said, I was not there on the scene, so if the OHP or any of the investigators had done any interviews at that time, I was not aware of. So as far as I know, I think I did get some of the very first interviews.
Well, based upon what we know and what we've investigated, you did, because when we talked to a lot of the people, some of the kids that were there, and they didn't get interviewed for quite a while afterwards. So it sounds like you probably were the first person that got those interviews. And can you tell us a little bit about those interviews? And you don't have to mention names, but some of the information that you yielded from that, and what did it do for you as far as, in your mind, move the case forward?
There was a couple of the kids that I interviewed. I've done a couple of interviews with two certain individuals that I would 99.9% say that they were telling the truth. Okay.
Say that one more time, because your phone just kind of chirped.
I'm sorry. I would say 99.9% that there was two of the individuals that I had spoke to is telling the truth.
Out of how many that you talked to?
Oh gosh, out of let me see, probably about 6.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
only out of the 6, only 2 you think are telling the truth.
from what I can tell.
And what made you believe that they were telling the truth? What was their body language? Was there?
It was some of the body language. Number one, and also I had talked to some of the other kids, and the some of them just like a couple of them broke down, and they told me things that had happened that, like, if they would have been not telling me the truth, I don't think they would have told me about that. So they didn't want to. I think they was being honest because of things that they did tell me, in which I did look into, and everything that I could tell, they were telling me the truth. And I've interviewed them twice. One of them I've interviewed, I think, 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I've talked to these individuals, their story has been 100% the same.
Got it. And I think that's the big problem with this case, is that from the get-go, from what we've learned, and the people that we've talked to, and we've talked to pretty much all of Noah's family, and that there's a lot of inconsistencies. People's stories were changing from time to time whenever they were talking. And, obviously, these are young people. They were at a party. They were drinking. There's some element of people not registering what happened. But it seemed that from what they were telling us and what we're learning, that the stories kept on changing, and there were inconsistencies, and especially with talking about Jack Newton. And he went back on, he went on News Nation. He said one thing, and people have told us that doesn't match up what he's told people from the get-go.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, he is he was Noah's best friend. So there's a couple of things that could have been happening. You're upset, there's grief, there's drinking for 4 days, partying, maybe other substances, whatever. But there's a few things in his story that don't make sense.
Yes, and I did his first interview, and some of the things that he had told me in the interview that I had done was not consistent at all with everything else. I don't know if he saw something and it scared him, and he's afraid to come forward, and or I don't know. I mean, there's something there that's got this kid scared, or something, because bless his heart, every time he says something, it's a little bit different. And I know he's having a hard time knowing that his best friend's gone and will never be able to, see him or talk to him or tell him their deep, dark secrets like they did. But all of these kids that were there at that party, apparently they all saw, I guess, from what I understand, went down there and saw him. So you can imagine what it's done to these children, but there's, like I said, the 2 individuals that I did discuss, I believe that they really are telling the truth, because they want justice for Noah.
Did their stories stay consistent?
Yes.
Okay. I want to back up a little bit, because you talked about Jack you said there's a sense of fear there and you feel like he's scared. When we talked to you yesterday, you told us that right now, a lot of those kids are scared. Can you can you talk a little bit about that?
There's been, I do know the 2 that we feel that has been honest. I do know that they've been getting threats. I don't know who from, but I do know for a fact they've been getting threats. So, like I said, then but it's kind of like the body language that I'm seeing from these kids when I've done interviews. They're very hesitant. When I did them, I've talked to a couple of them 2 or 3 times, and there's one that I did, I think maybe two or three interviews with, and this individual is just like he's trying to stay on, remember what he's said in the past, but then just little things that he's saying is not matching up,
Yeah.
So I have taken classes in statement deception. So I'm kind of listening for certain key words, and I've been studying that. So and I'll go back and listen to all the interviews, and that's kind of helping me too, because I go by a guideline from what some books that I've got on deception and lying, and so I'm kind of putting that together. But and that's one thing with the other two that I can tell that has told the truth, that I feel like is telling the truth, because I haven't found any of that deception.
Mm-hmm.
But if these kids don't have nothing to hide, then they need to come forward and tell somebody. If they want to call me, that's fine. If they want to call me, they don't even have to tell me who they are. Just tell me what happened. They can call me anonymously and tell me, say, hey, this is what happened. Tell me where it happened. Give me something, some kind of clue. Because if this was your family, your brother, your cousin, your grandson, or you need to put yourself in our shoes. Because this is not only, I've had this with Damien, but it wasn't, Damien was his was like an accident, he got out of the house. But I don't know if you remember the case down in Velma, Oklahoma, where the little girl went into the store and the clerk killed her. The Brayley Henry story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we know that story. It's horrifying.
That was my little cousin.
Oh my gosh.
So that's why I'm saying, now do you understand why it's so important?
Sure.
Because we got that taken care of when he's going away, and he'll never see the daylight again, and then he'll get the death sentence. He got the death sentence. But this is why it's hit so hard for me. Yeah,
you got a personal connection to these losses.
Absolutely. Yes. And Noah was just looked like such a wonderful kid.
He was a hot mess. That boy, he would bend over backwards to help anybody. And he loved to help kids. I know they were talking about, there was a kid, I guess he would try it out for the football team, or he wasn't doing real well. And Noah took it upon himself to help him and encourage him and mentor him. And the kid loved Noah. And it meant so much to that kid that he finally was able to make something, and prosper from Noah's mentoring him. And that's the way Noah was.
Yeah, that's everybody said the same thing.
Yeah.
We just had Justin Roy on the podcast just recently, and he said the same thing. He did it for his son. His son he was a mentor to his son.
Yes,
in sports. So
yes,
you get that. Well, let me just stop you real quick, real there.
Mm-hmm.
All these interviews, I just want to clarify for our listeners that everything that you accumulated, all the recordings and interviews and the statements you have, you've already sent that over to the law enforcement, correct?
Most of it I have. I'm still getting it all together and making copies and getting everything in order so I can get it over to them. Yes.
Good. And then let's just talk a little bit about, what you think happened, but of the information that you yielded from those interviews, what do you know happened?
Well, from what I really didn't get a whole lot from everybody thought, that he was hit by a car, ran over. But from what I have, the evidence, and some of the kids have told me that they think that he was not ran over by a car. There apparently was an argument with some other individuals with Noah, and then Noah walked off. There's been different ones saying that they gave Noah a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bunch of consistency in that. That's one of the things that I'm working on. We know from the autopsy report, I do have a copy of that. I was one of the first ones to receive a copy of that. That it absolutely is not a hit and run. There's just no way.
Yeah, I think everybody tends to agree that just based upon the fact that you just have a head wound and you have torso wounds, and his extremities are pretty much just maybe scratched up, but not as bad.
It's, these kids have been so tight-lipped as what has actually happened. Little bits and pieces are slowly, I feel like, coming out. But we still haven't got the smoking gun yet. But trust me, guys, I got ears and I got eyes all over this place. And I get daily reports from different...
Because you live in that community and know everybody.
Oh, I know. Yes, I know. It's funny because my brother lives down in Texas, and he comes up and he says, "Good God, is there not anybody you don't know? From police officers, firemen, bank tellers, but I'm one of those people that I'm very sociable. I like to get out. I like to know what's going on in my community, and where I can help in my community. I think a lot of these kids think that because they were going around telling everybody, don't talk to the PI, don't talk to the PI, don't talk to the PI. I don't think they realize what a PI does. Yes, we collect information. Yes, we do this, we do that to help law enforcement. But also we want to get their side of the story. We want to get their truth. They think that we're against them. We're not. We're right in the middle. We don't take sides. We don't. We're there to get information, and whether it's for the prosecution or the defense, we're right there on the fine line. We're the wall that they're going to walk on. It's the way I look at it. We're not there to condemn, and we're not there to scrutinize or anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on a timeline of what happened that night?
Oh, well, at 3:41, someone posted that Noah was missing. And then someone else said that at 4 o'clock, they knew or that he had died at 4 o'clock. So I don't know. I mean, it's very still up in the air.
Yeah.
I have asked for the call log, but I have been denied that.
OHP denied that.
No, not OHP. Jefferson County.
Got it.
But I had talked to the sheriff down there. He said that he called OHP and they told him not to give it to me at that time. So I called OHP. OHP did tell me the forms to fill out. So I went to go fill them out back down there at the sheriff's department. But then I was told that due to it was an open investigation, that they wanted OHP's written consent. And OHP says they could not do that. So I've definitely been given the runaround. Otherwise, I could probably put a closer timeline.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know,
Were you able to speak to the gentleman who called 911?
no, I have not.
After talking to the kids that you did talk to, were you able to formulate any kind of a motive or potential motive? I know this is a big question everybody has. What was the motive? Why would anyone want to kill this kid?
I don't think they intentionally killed him. I don't. I think what happened was, like I said, he had been in an argument with one or two of the other party goers or party people, or whatever you want to call them. And I think it might have been over jealousy. You know, I don't know for sure, but the way it sounds and from the information that I'm getting, you know, they got into an argument over another individual or a couple of individuals. I'm not real clear, but I know that they were arguing over someone. And I'm thinking maybe they went to start a fight. You know,
So it sounds like based upon what you're talking, and I know you're being very kind of cryptic with your answers, because I know you have to be, because you were holding on to information. I mean, so we get that. So for our listeners, just know that, you know, she's actively working this case. So there is information she can't really talk about. But it sounds like what you're trying to say is that there was a crime of passion that was unintentional, that got out of hand, and someone had to make up a narrative to kind of divert attention from what actually happened. And I just think that if it was an accident, you know, there's remedies for that. You know, there's not, you know, if it wasn't intentional, you know, it's a totally different ball game. But if it was an accident and you're sitting on information, that's a problem.
yes.
And that's a huge problem.
And, you know, I know a lot of these kids, you know, and, you know, my kids went to Comanche. You know, my daughter graduated from Comanche. I know a lot of people from Comanche. I lived there for years. So, it's just so heartbreaking, because I see these kids and I know their families, you know, and for me to have to go helm them and ask them what happened, you know, they're scared. They don't, and I see the parents and I see their nightmare in their face, you know, like what's going to happen to my kids, you know, and that's why I felt like it was so important that I go try to get to them first, you know, and say, hey guys, talk to me, sit down here and talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what happened. You know, let me see what I can do to help you with this situation, because I everybody in my family and a lot of people that know me will tell you I'm a fixer. I try to fix things. I don't like broken. I don't. I don't. So that's where, I wish they would come to me and tell me I'm not going to pass judgment. If it was an accident, it's an accident. Let's fix it. Let's do right by the family. Let's get your conscience cleared, because I know these kids are just I know several of them have had problems in school. I know several of them have been been in trouble at school since then. They're having problems focusing. So
this is a kind of secret that eats you alive. It
yes,
gives you cancer. It gives you a heart attack. It eats you alive from the inside out. And eventually the truth will come out. It always does. And if you're sitting on information that could solve this, somebody's going to talk, and then you're behind the 8 ball. You really want to get out ahead of it and tell the real story, not 8 different versions of a story, because everybody knows it's a lie. You're not fooling anybody, and you're not fooling yourself, and you're not fooling God. You're not fooling anybody.
That's the big one, is the man upstairs. I mean, I'm not a Bible thumper, but
Neither are we.
Trust and believe. Karma comes back.
Real.
Oh yes. Yes, it will come back and haunt you till, it's not a good thing. So if they need to come clean, like I said, if they want to contact me, that's fine.
We have people give us tips as well. We turn all of them over to law enforcement. We have been a source of tips for the past 6 years on the Molly and Colt case. And people can call anonymously. Call us, call Kathy, call law enforcement. Yes. You don't have to tell them who you are. But there were so many kids at that party. I know some of you know what happened.
Yes. And it's sad because some of the parents refuse for the kids to even talk to me,
because they don't want their kids to be implicated. I understand that.
Let's talk about that, because there's, not long after, and it's still happening, the family who hosted the party, they lawyered up very quickly.
Oh, yes.
And they're not talking. We also heard, not only from you, but a lot of other people, that in that county, that there's an untouchable list of people that just don't,
It was the same in Love County. It's not a surprise to us to hear this. We've heard this throughout Oklahoma and different counties all over, that there's a list of people that are considered untouchable. I grew up in a small town in New York. We had a constable. People that lived in Belterre, we knew the constable. We didn't get in trouble. We could drive fast. We knew that. We knew we had that little bit of leeway with the local law enforcement because of who we were and where we lived. And I feel like there's a similar thing happening here in this small town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. But that chain's going to break one day.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
It does.
And when it does, it's ugly. It's ugly because, when I grew up, someone got wrongly accused of killing their parents. He went to prison for 18 years, and it took 18 years for us to find the truth. But I'll tell you what, truth came out.
Well,
and it will come out no matter what.
Oh, yeah. And it's slowly coming out because I have, talked to some people that actually have been family members of these untouchables.
Yeah.
And that's how I know that there's a list.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm not surprised. I'm just not. We've experienced this so much.
You know how they say money talks, bullcrap walks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this is where it is right now, but it's that table's fixing to get broken and the tables are fixing to get turned. That's, you can only go you can push your luck only so far.
Have you heard anything about the casino?
Yes.
We heard something about the casino where an eyewitness apparently saw 3 of the boys who were at the party take Noah's hat and put it into the
Or a hat.
or a hat that resembled Noah's hat. Let me be
Yes.
clear, and put it into a trash can
Yes,
In the
I
bathroom.
in the bathroom.
yes, I am actually working on that now. I have I'm waiting on a call back.
I mean, that's very suspicious to me.
Yes. So I'm hoping they still have the video so I can go look at it if they will allow me to. If not, then we will have to go and probably get a search warrant if they still have the video.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they still do. I don't know how long they keep those videos, but
Have you talked to the person who made the statement?
yes, I have.
Okay. Did she know who those individuals were? Did she recognize them?
She recognized one of them for sure.
Okay. So we have an I. We
So
have
you
an
actually have an eyewitness.
Yes.
and an ID.
So, knowing that there's so much going on social media, tons of different stories and stupid things, and then some things, little kernels of truth.
Mhm.
What do you want us to know as facts from what you've been investigating so that it's clear that
The facts is that we know he wasn't ran over, number one. Facts number two is we know not everyone, but the majority of them are lying, and we're putting it together, and we will find out.
and I think I can say this, and if I can't, we'll beep this out. But I have spoken to Caden's mother and to Caden. We have spoken to him, and we believe him. We believe his story.
Yes, absolutely.
You believe his story as well.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to get that on the record because I
Yes.
think it's important.
And now, let me clear something up. I did an interview with Caden's mother, and we were discussing everything, and we were discussing about a video that was out there, supposedly to be out there about, I guess, them taking his clothes off, something about taking his clothes off, maybe, I don't know, several people being around him and moving him or taking his clothes off or something in that line.
While he was on the roadside.
Yes.
When he was dead.
Yes.
While Noah was on the roadside.
Yes. So, anyway, we were discussing that, and I had told her, I said, yes, I had heard about this video, but I have not seen it. I was sent a picture, and I was showing her that, and I had pulled it up, and I was showing her a picture, but it wasn't a very clear picture of someone in a uniform. I couldn't tell what kind of uniform it was. It was before the sun come up, so it was still kind of dark. But you couldn't make out who it was. But the shirt and she said that she thought that was a uniform of. And then I said, well, I think so too. But I guess she thought it was a video because she asked me if it had any sound. And I said no. So, but it was a picture that
And that picture was sent to you anonymously?
Yes. Well, I know who had sent it. And they had sent it. And then I had just received it. So I didn't get to save it. But when I go back, it's now and I'm going to turn it. I mean, the OSBI, FBI, OHP, they can have my phone anytime they want it. Come get it. I will take it to them. I already discussed this with them. So they are aware of this because apparently they were told that I had this video, and they contacted me, and I told them, no, I did not have this video. So, and I told them if they want to come get my phone, that was absolutely okay with me.
It sounds like it was miscommunication. And Caden, that poor kid, has been under such pressure to call things that happened 8 months ago, 9 months ago. It's a long time. But I believe that kid. He's telling the truth, and he really loved Noah, and he wants the truth to come out.
Yes,
he's a good kid. And people that are threatening him, this is horrible. You should not. No one should be threatening this kid.
Right.
For doing the right thing.
And I did tell Caden that if he needed anything to call me, that I would help him in any way that I could. Just like any of the other kids that they were, like I said, I'm a fixer. I try to fix things. I don't like broken, as I told you that before, but, and I just can't imagine what his parents are going through. His mother, she's so sweet.
Oh, she's lovely. And I feel so bad for these people. It's horrible.
And she wants the truth. She wants to know. And, when I showed her that picture, I guess she thought it was a video, but it was actually a picture. So
here's the thing. So law enforcement doesn't have your phone yet.
No.
Okay. Because
I've asked them, I've told them if they want to come get it, they can have it.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing on my phone that, if they want it, please feel free to come get it. I got an office phone. I got a landline office phone. So if they want to come get my phones, take them, look at them, whatever, be my guest. So, but like I said, they did call me 2 or 3 weeks ago and asked me about this video. And it was kind of shocking to me. And I was like, I don't have it, and we had discussed it. And then, So, and they told me that they believed me, but like I said, if they want to come get my phones, absolutely, please do. I welcome that, because that way, they don't have any questions about me and my integrity, because I do this because I love my community,
And let's be clear, you're doing this pro bono.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
that was my next
This
statement.
family has endured so much, and I would never dream of asking for a penny. No. It don't matter how many hours I put in, how many sleepless nights. There's, like, for instance, I got up this morning at 1:45. Things were going through my head. I started coming in here, going through my notes again, going through listening for something, looking up stuff, just any little thing. And I do that, But as far as charging the family, absolutely not. There is no way I would do that.
Yeah,
that's nice.
I was just going to talk a little bit about the law enforcement investigation, because we're coming up on, I think it's got to be 9 months now, and it just seems like we know some of the OHP people that are involved in this. We've dealt with OHP on the Molly and Colt case, and they were great. They were like the first guys in, or not the first guys in, but they were the most reputable people that were kind of following up, and they were able to do a lot.
They really cared. They wanted to get justice for Paula. They wanted answers for her. And they worked hard to do it.
Yeah.
And so we know them.
Yes, we know them. But I just feel like after 9 months, it seems like at least I think the autopsy report came out in May. So it was like maybe at 8 months it came out, or 7.5 months. It seems like that when that became public, that's when things started to come out again. But it doesn't seem, basically talking to the family, they hadn't really gotten a whole lot of information from them up until then. And based upon what we've heard people telling us, is that it seems like it's a slow boat of investigation. When you have a body, it's so much, and you have a scene of a crime. It seems like, with Molly and Colt, we have several scenes of the crime. We don't have any bodies. We just have stories and, timelines and phone, cell phone records. So it's much harder. With this, you have a body that was basically presented, that we believe was presented on that roadside and put there. And that wasn't that's not where he died. And to make it look like that. So what do you think they're working on right now?
Wait, what were you going to say?
what I was going to say was, if he would have died there on the side of the road, I do believe there would have been a lot more blood, because I used to work in a trauma unit down by Houston, and they would bring people in that had a lot of car accidents, or falls or something, and there would be a lot of blood just everywhere, because even just a slight bump that breaks the skin, you're going to have tons of blood. You're thinking you're bleeding to death.
Yeah.
Because of all the blood vessels and everything in your head. But in this case, there was hardly any blood there, from what I understand. But as far as law enforcement,
Do you think you're just being really cautious, or are they just realizing? I mean, because we know the officer who showed up at the scene. We know him.
yes.
And we've said this before in podcasts. I mean, I know he, based upon stories that we've been told, that he asked for help for this case, and hopefully he has the help now. It sounds like he does, but for a short period of time, those months, it seemed like he might have been working on this thing alone, or without. I just want to find out, and I think everybody wants to know why they didn't treat it like a crime scene, or if they did treat it like a crime scene, a regular crime scene. I'm gonna contact him and find out and clarify this
because
with
there
him.
is a lot that was not done that should have been done, and I think all the answers are going to be. I think we would have had a lot more answers, and this case probably would have been closed by now if the proper steps would have been taken. Now, I'm not saying it was OHP's fault. I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
There was some things. I'm not really going to go into detail that I do know that was said, not to OHP, but there was people that showed up on the scene that was kin to a lot of the party goers, and that actually owned the land. They showed up. So I think that was part of, why maybe they didn't get the warrants to search the property. I know the property was not searched. I think.
Well, I don't think they even bothered to ask to search the property.
Right.
Is that correct? Did they ask to search the property and we're told no?
I'm not sure, but here's what I think. This is what I heard, but don't quote me on it, please don't. But
that's fine.
From what I have understood, was when this first happened, they showed up, and that they thought it was a hit and run. So that's one reason why, they thought right there when Noah it was a hit and run. Well, then I guess later on they realized that it wasn't. So, but I still would have thought that they would have went and searched the property, but
well, maybe because the landowners are been in that town for generations, and they probably all know each other, and everybody was probably like, well, they took their word for it, like, or whatever. Well, or maybe they just said there's nothing to search. He was found here,
Yeah.
I just feel like, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a law enforcement, but if, you had kids coming out of the party to come to the scene, so they knew that the house was a few hundred yards away. Mm-hmm. They knew where they were, and a kid shows up dead along the roadside. And if anybody out there is a lawyer and want to contact us, I would think that there'd be probable cause to at least go and not only just at least talk to people at the party right then and there to find out why did Noah end up on the roadside and when did he leave the party, and also look around the house a little bit. But, I did contact the OHP officer who arrived. He did say that because the family said that the homeowner's family said that the house was searched by law enforcement. And he told me, no, we didn't search.
That was the thing I didn't understand. Like, why did they say that?
Your guess is as good as mine. But, if you want to get right down to it, I think we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Other people were telling me that they smelled bleach at the house, that there was people coming and going, cleaning, like excessive cleaning. I mean, all right, let's just say hypothetically that, if Noah was found on the road, he must have been moved from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's my theory. Obviously, that's what happened because
he didn't walk out to the road and just drop dead there with a head wound and multiple torso injuries, internal bleeding, collapsed lung. It just didn't happen.
Right. I have had little tips of where it could have happened. Very good possibilities of where it happened. But again, getting that search warrant to get on that property, I don't know if we can get that.
Well, I think it's too long now. I think it's too long now.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, because this place nobody has ever mentioned.
Got it.
Okay.
So
because there could be DNA there. There could be evidence there. There could be a tooth. They found a tooth on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. Fingernails, any kind of anything, small little things.
Mm-hmm.
So
because all that land backs up to the river, and there's several different.
Is it the red? Is it the Red River?
It's a Red River.
Oh, yes. That Red River, man.
Yeah.
You talked about when you first saw the autopsy report, because we had a friend of ours who's a retired deputy coroner and investigator for 33 years, investigated over 200 deaths, and we had her go over it. She's seen hundreds of autopsy reports. She's seen tons of traffic accidents and fatalities. When you looked at it and you saw and you read the stuff about the head wound, what came out for you?
What came out for me was he was beaten, and I did some looking, and even at the funeral, I noticed his face. You could tell he'd been beaten. And then by the injuries, I think, and I would, if I wish I could find them, but I think they were golf clubs. I think golf clubs were involved due to one specific injury that I could see.
On the head?
Yes.
So you actually saw him in his open casket. So you actually saw Noah.
Okay. Yes, I did.
Did you see anything else that led you to believe that it could be a golf club as well?
There was a spot on his head that made me say it's a golf club. And then when I got to looking and reading on the autopsy, I did some measuring. And from what I can see is they're consistent with some golf clubs, but then also I believe maybe a pipe and maybe the butt of a gun.
Yeah. Based upon our friend Jody, who's the retired law enforcement who's done this, she actually drew out a sketch for us of what the dynamic range of and how it was described, the 4x2 wound, and it does in like a fish shape, so like almost like a fish shape, a small shape, and it could be either a butt end of a rifle or it could be a golf club.
I mean, the golf clubs are suspicious because Noah did have golf clubs from Dalen. and no one knows where they are.
Right.
And other people have seen bent up golf clubs, have told us different stories from different, multiple people have told us about these golf clubs that were bent or missing. And
And we know that there were rifles there. We know for a fact that there was a rifle, a shotgun, and an AR. Bolt action, a shotgun, and an AR-15. So we know that they were there because they were also collected by the homeowner at the end when they started cleaning up everything.
Yes, by one of the, I believe it was one of the sisters of the homeowner, or aunts or somebody.
Yeah.
But
why would you do that? Like, what's the motivation there? You know, then why?
I think maybe why they did it was because number one was there was drinking, and they knew that there was underage drinking, and it's a felony to have alcohol and firearms together.
Not to mention minors.
And
so you had the trifecta. You had
and then
you had youth hosting, firearms.
Then you have a body. I mean, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's just incomprehensible to me that people at the party don't know what happened to him. That's just not possible. They absolutely know what happened.
How and all of them?
No, not all of them.
But
a handful.
Can tell you, if I were, I'd put my brand new Maserati up on a statement if I could name names. But I'm not going to name names. But I guarantee you one thing. These names that if I could throw them out, they wouldn't get my Maserati.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I put that up.
I want to, we've been also told, and we want to clarify if you've heard this too, and, you know, we'd like to, that they actually had a party the following weekend at that same house.
That's what I understand. And the partying has just continued on like nobody's business.
Another question for you is that Jack had said on News Nation that he took a polygraph. Let me say it again. Jack had said on News Nation that he had taken a polygraph. Now, we've worked with one of the biggest experts in the United States on polygraphs. And from what we understand, it came back inconclusive.
Is that correct, or did he pass? What did you hear?
I have been told it was inconclusive.
Now, that does not mean that he passed.
That does not mean he passed, but nor does it mean he failed.
Exactly.
It means that there's some inconsistencies, but they can't tell exactly what's going on with it.
Yep. And
how I think there are ways of manipulating a polygraph test.
Yeah, we're aware of that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can take a Xanax, you can have a couple hits of weed, get a little high.
You can have a drink, you can anything. I mean, you can even take an Advil and it can affect it. I mean, there's a lot of things chemically that can affect a polygraph.
And that stuff's all online. You can find that stuff out.
I mean,
yes. Yeah. So,
what did you think of the News Nation interview? It kind of struck me as it didn't feel right. I just don't feel good about it for some reason. No. It's not sitting well with me.
I was quite upset. I just don't think that it did any justice. Any justice came out of that. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, the family's lucky to have you, and the fact that you're doing this all pro bono, and the fact that you have so much personal experience with loss in this type of world, and you have the empathy of what this family's going through, and that's the driving force for you is pretty admirable. And I think it's, like I said, we have Paula Fielder, who we're working on with the Molly and Colt case. I mean, you remind us a lot of her. She's not a private investigator, but she could be easily, the amount of work that she put into.
Tell her it's easy to go, and you know, you get into.
I don't think she wants to do it.
I don't think she does either. She got pushed into this, but it's amazing what you're doing, Kathy. And thank you so much for talking with us today. We really do appreciate it. And
we'd love to check in back with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, I promised the family, you know, mostly I promised Noah that I would find out. I'm not giving up. I will not give up. I can't. I gotta fight for Noah. And, you know, I know his family they're exhausted. They're tired, you know, their emotions. And I know how that is because I've been through it.
Yeah, I know. We talk to him every day. We talk to him.
Somebody has to stand up and fight. And that's what I'm going to do, because my grandkids and these kids of the family come to me. Grandma, tell me you found something. Grandma, are we getting any closer? Grandma, please tell us something. And I have to look at these kids, you know, and I said, I can't tell you anything yet, you know? So
it's heartbreaking, honestly. And to have it happen in such a small community where everybody knows everybody seems to know who Noah was. I mean,
there ain't nobody that doesn't.
That's
and
what
now
I'm
the
saying.
world
And
knows
it's like,
who he is.
And it's so sad that this poor boy was taken from everybody in such a vicious, brutal way. And I don't know how people live with themselves. How do you go to sleep at night?
I don't
How do you not think about this 24 hours a day? You can drink it away, you can drug it away, but it's still going to be there. It will eat you up, I promise you.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I've been working on the case and it's eating at me because I can't
You can't let it go.
Yeah, I cannot let it go until I know, you know, and I can say, okay, Noah, now you can rest.
Oh. Well, we're going to do the same. We're not going to let go until we get answers here.
And whoever did this, if it was an accident,
just say it.
Just call me. I'm not going to sit here and, you know, I'll try to do everything I can to help you get through this, and we will go and do what we got to do.
Because it's terrifying. I mean, these are kids. They're kids. They're so young.
They have their whole life ahead of them.
And they have their whole life ahead of them. And stupid stuff happens.
Yes. And
stupid things happen. People are drunk. People say stupid things. Things get out of hand. It's an accident. Yeah. If it was an accident, it was an accident. But the longer you wait to tell that, the harder it's going to get.
And then when it all comes out, and if for everybody that does know and they don't come forward, they're all going to go down just like the you know, the one
House of Cards.
Like a house of cards. I mean, how do you think Noah feels? He had his whole life ahead of him. You know, he's not resting. He's not at rest. His soul is tormented right now, trying to get answers for his family.
Yeah. And so it's just like, and I'm not going away.
Oh, we're not going away either.
The only way that I'm going to go away is if I get taken out. And I guarantee you one thing, there's enough eyes on and around me. If I were to get taken out, they would know exactly who to go after.
Yeah, well, nothing's going to happen.
Nah, I'm not worried.
No.
But, you know, because these kids, they know that I'll help them if they need me.
That's good.
That's awesome, Kathy. Well, thank you.
Yes, and keep on trucking, and we're going to keep on trucking here, and we'll check in with you. And
please do.
Yeah, and thank you very much